Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show on this channel every single week where I just geek out about comic books, and last week was part 1 of our look at all the new ResurrXion titles. I talked about each of the new X-Men titles that have come out so far, but the X-Men aren't the only part of the ResurrXion line. There are also the brand new Inhuman books. So today on part 2, we're going to take a look at Secret Warriors, Royals, and Black Bolt, the 3 new Inhuman series. And that's the order that I'm going to examine them in because I feel like that's the order that captures what the Inhumans are supposed to be the most. That is not to say that is the order I am ranking these in terms of quality. Just ever since this whole X-Men and Inhumans kerfuffle came about, I have been complaining that Marvel has been trying to make the Inhumans too much like the X-Men, and I have been saying from day one that Marvel does not need to do that. They do not need to look at the X-Men and go, well, let's try and make the Inhumans like that, because the Inhumans are a unique, interesting, cool thing all on their own. They are their own unique flavor. The Inhumans are strawberry and the X-Men are chocolate. You do not have to turn strawberry into chocolate. Strawberry is pretty damn cool all on its own. Man, I really want to get some ice cream right now. Anywho, as I was saying, over the past couple of years, Marvel has tried really hard to make the Inhumans something that they aren't. But now, with these ResurrXion books, they are trying to make the Inhumans more of what they are meant to be. Are they succeeding? Well, as I said, there are 3 books, and we're going to start with Secret Warriors, because to me, Secret Warriors doesn't really have anything at all to do with Inhumans other than the fact that the entire team is Inhumans, and that this is a tie-in to the current Secret Empire storyline going on at Marvel, where an evil alternate reality Captain America, who is a member of Hydra, has taken over the entire United States. So Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Quake has decided to form a team made up of all the remaining Inhumans that she can find, including characters such as Karnak, Moon Girl, Miss Marvel, and Inferno, and together they're going around the country trying to stop Hydra from imprisoning their fellow Inhumans. Now this book, while mostly being praised, is still getting a little bit of critiques for a couple of things, and I'm going to go ahead and address a couple of those critiques because in all honesty, I understand those critiques. However, most of the critiques don't really have to do with the writing or the art or the characters or anything like that. It's more just simply about the concept of the book. And what I mean by that is that A, this series is made entirely to be a tie-in to a Marvel event, and most series that are created solely to be a tie-in to a giant Marvel event, they don't really have a lot of luck lasting beyond that event. Some of them, like Spider-Woman, do have that luck, but it's mostly because after the event is over with, they completely rebrand the book and make it something totally new, so it feels like the start of a brand new series that had nothing to do with that big tie-in arc. And I'm kind of hoping that Secret Warriors does the same thing, because in all honesty, I've been thinking about this book and how it is so very much dependent on Secret Empire that it has made me ask, well, what the heck is this book going to be after Secret Empire? So it's one of those things where even if I am enjoying the series right now, I know that 5 issues from now, it's going to be something completely different, and I'm a little bit hesitant to jump on a series that I know will completely change in just a couple of months. Now, another big critique that I have heard this book getting is that it should not be called Secret Warriors, because aside from the fact that Quake is leading this team, it has zero connection in both the origin of the book, the characters, the tone, the premise, anything at all to do with the previous Secret Warrior series. The previous Secret Warrior series was Nick Fury's elite team that he kept off the radar. It was his own group of secret agents that he was training to be the next class of elite heroes who could go in and save the day, and Quake was the leader of that team. It was actually a really cool book. If you have not checked that out, then I recommend that you go ahead and take a look at. However, yeah man, as I said, it's got zero to do with this series other than the fact that it stars Quake and they are fighting Hydra. That's about it. Nothing else from that series is similar to this one at all. So yeah, I feel like they just kind of slapped that title on here, and I think that sometimes when Marvel slaps the title of a pre-existing book on a new book, they believe it's going to help that book prosper because they will make people think, oh, I enjoyed the previous one, I'll enjoy this one. But instead, it actually hurts those new books because it makes those people who enjoyed the previous one look at this one and go, this doesn't look like the thing I enjoyed. I have no interest now in checking this thing out. And it makes people who want to read something new look at this thing and go, well, did I need to read the previous thing? Maybe I should have read the previous thing, and if I didn't read it, then I will have no connection to this. As I said, this is an Inhumans book, and it is connected mostly to the new humans, all those new Inhumans that were created by the Terrigen Mist and have been popping up over the past couple years. I really feel like if they had just called this Secret Inhumans or just New Humans, I think that would have gotten way more people interested in this title, and it would have felt like such a fresh, new, original thing. It would have felt like its own thing. It would have felt like it didn't have to tie into anything else, and it would have made people more intrigued to pick up something new rather than feeling like they needed to study up on it. And the third argument that I have heard people making is that this book is supposed to be kind of a secret agent book. It's supposed to be a spy series, and you've got Quake there leading the team. She's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, that makes sense. But it just feels really, really weird to see Moon Girl and Miss Marvel in a spy series. And in all honesty, yeah, I kind of have to agree. You guys know me. I have been praising Miss Marvel and Moon Girl since this channel started. I love both those characters. I am glad to see that Marvel is wanting to put them in other books. However, yeah, man, I love Moon Girl because it's a book about a young girl kind of growing up and discovering herself and learning to become a hero in her own way. It's kind of weird to see that book about this young girl that I think is very relatable to children suddenly being thrown into this giant Hydra has taken over the whole world storyline, and she's now teaming up with S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It's just weird to me, man. Again, not a critique of Moon Girl or Miss Marvel. As I said, I love both those characters because both those characters are very unique and tell their own unique stories. But you know, it's kind of like seeing Thor suddenly being written as a gritty noir book where he's solving crimes on the street of New York. Yeah, no, that's not what you do, Thor. Get back into space and punch space gods. That's your thing. So yeah, as I said, those are three critiques that I have heard people make about this book. And also, again, as I have said, just as somebody who wants to see the Inhumans being the Inhumans, yeah, this book does not resemble the Inhumans that I knew, but at the same time, it is mostly focusing on the new Inhumans, and the new Inhumans are in no way connected to the history of the Inhumans. They are not that same flavor, they are their own unique thing, so I can accept that. However, even though I can understand all those critiques that people have, and even though I kind of share them a little bit myself, just judging the book based on its quality, just going by that if a rose of any other name smelled as sweet philosophy where I just ignore the title of this book and just look at it as its own unique thing, oh my gosh, this book is fun. This book is a blast. It is so weird to me to think that this is supposed to be a series about a spy trying to assemble a team to save the people of her own species from all these giant camps and death prisons that Hydra is putting together. It seems like it should be a very serious, dark, dramatic book, but God, if Matthew Rosenberg doesn't know how to take dark, serious topics and make them insanely fun. Just read his independent book, 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank, if you want any proof of that. But with issue number 1, I was like, you know what? This isn't bad. I'm intrigued. I'm going to come back for issue number 2. I read issue number 2, and that's when the entire team is finally assembled together, and it's able to not only show the character dynamics of all of them working together, but it's also able to start delving into a little bit of the past and spotlight on each of them individually. Wow, it nails both those things perfectly. In issue number 2, it focuses a lot on Inferno, and I'm kind of glad that it did because Inferno seemed like he was supposed to be the star of the Inhuman series when Marvel wanted to do the big push on all these new Inhumans, but then he got dropped almost immediately. Like, they just stopped caring about that guy, like just a couple issues into the Charles Soule Inhuman series. But this book on issue 2 finally steps in and kind of goes, okay, let's focus on him. Let's think about what he actually feels. Let's actually talk about him as a character so he's not just the guy who creates fire. He is actually his own character. And by the end of the issue, I went, you know what? He is his own character. But the best thing about this freaking book is this team all working together. Like I said, it just feels weird for me to see Moon Girl and Miss Marvel and Quake and Karnak all on a team together because they are such different characters. Like, I could never imagine all of them being in a room together at the same time. Matthew Rosenberg takes full advantage of that. He takes advantage of the fact that these characters are all 100% different from each other. They are all going in absolute different directions. And he goes, let's create some fun dialogue with that. Let's create some unique situations. If you can't find joy in issue number 2, when all 5 of these characters are forced to go on a road trip and they're just trying to cram themselves into a car, I don't know what to tell you, because I just had a giant grin on my face while I was reading that. Just seeing Moon Girl call Shotgun and Miss Marvel getting mad because she didn't call it in time, and then Karnak calling middle backseat, and they're all like, no one ever calls the middle backseat, and he just goes, that's because no one else realizes that in the event of a crash, it has the lowest fatality rate. And I went, this is the greatest dialogue for a car trip between crazy comic book characters I've ever read. Holy cow. I so wish that this book did not have to force itself to be part of some big crossover, because as I've mentioned numerous times, making your book a part of some big crossover does not really bring in new readers. It now kind of scares readers away, because a lot of the readers who would love a book like this are now looking at this book and going, well, I haven't been reading Secret Empire, so does that mean that I'll understand it? Listen, even if you have not been reading Secret Empire, if this sounds fun to you, if you just want to see crazy, wacky characters getting along and having to work together while at the same time occasionally delving into all the stuff going on inside their heads and all the issues that they're going through, yeah, ignore that Secret Empire banner. Just realize it's dealing with some other thing going on at Marvel Comics you don't need to worry about. Just read this book. It's a ton of fun. It is absolutely worth the price of admission. Next up, moving into the Royals. Now, this one is a lot more like what an Inhumans book should be. As I've been saying from day one, the Inhumans are not X-Men light. The Inhumans are Game of Thrones in space. And the premise of the Royals book is, now that Medusa has wiped out the Terrigen Mist, there is no way of creating any new Inhumans. However, the Inhumans were created by the Kree millions and millions of years ago. Well, this book starts off with the Inhumans having to deal with the fact that they are now the last of their kind, that there are not going to be any more Inhumans. But then Marvel Boy, a member of the Kree from an alternate reality, pops in and goes, yeah, there's something that you guys don't know, but the Kree in my reality did know. I can show you where the Terrigen crystals came from. So he and the rest of the members of the royal family of the Inhumans, as well as a couple of the new humans, set off on a mission to journey into parts unknown as they take off into space. So okay, you got the Inhuman royal family, you've got them in space, you're doing alright so far. But I still have a few problems with this book, and it's a problem that I honestly have with a lot of Marvel books, and it's that it just tries way too hard to be cool. And I don't mean it tries too hard to be cool as in it tries to be good and have interesting characters. No, that's not what I mean. I mean it tries to be hip and funky fresh with the kids. Like, this is one of those books where in the first 2 issues, on almost every single page, there's at least one moment that I can look at and go, you want that to be a catchphrase, don't you? Like, it really feels like ever since Karen Gillian came in here and did that successfully with Young Avengers, the editors over at Marvel have been like, yeah, we need another Young Avengers. We need something else that everybody is going to reblog every single panel of over on Tumblr. And so because of that, Al Ewing is just trying really, really hard to make the Inhumans really cool. And here's the thing, the Inhumans are cool. However, they're cool like Obi-Wan and Yoda were cool. They're not cool like Han Solo was cool. I think that's the best way that I can sum it up. There's many different types of cool, and Al Ewing is still trying to make the Inhumans cool in a way that they're not meant to be. So yeah, in all honesty, I was losing some faith in this book. I thought Al Ewing was the perfect guy to write some members of the Inhumans, especially characters like Maximus the Mad. However, Maximus the Mad was not in this book. Until issue 3. I will not spoil the big twist that comes about, but it is a damn good twist, and it leads into issue 3, which is just showing the origin story of Maximus the Mad. And when I started reading that, it made me remember, oh yeah, right, Al Ewing is the guy who wrote that really damn good Loki series. He wrote a fantastic Loki series that painted a whole new picture of this trickster who was always playing for his own team. And honestly, I would describe Maximus the Mad in very similar ways. And what they do in issue number 3 is it's a story taking place in the past, the present, and the future, and they reveal Maximus the Mad sees his entire timeline happening all at once. So, as you're reading through the story, and it keeps from panel to panel, with every single one of these time periods being drawn by a different person, which was a really unique way to approach this, but as it goes from panel to panel, jumping from past to present to future, and oftentimes you see sentences flowing from one time period right into the next, you realize this is how Maximus sees everything, and it's how he is able to manipulate everyone. It is how he is able to plan everything out. He can see everything happening at once. It was a damn cool twist, and it really made Maximus all the more chilling, and it really got me intrigued to see what he was going to do next. So yeah, after issue number 3, Maximus the Mad is the star of this book. He is the thing making me come back for issue number 4, but the problem is, he's not the only character in this book, and Al Ewing is doing a fine job of writing all the other characters, but not great. I mean, it's fine, but there's nothing really memorable, and occasionally, as I said, it does feel like he's just trying way too hard to make these characters cool, rather than actually taking the time to build up some really big tension. Like in issue number 1, there actually is a really cool tense moment where you see a character, I won't say who it was, but a character in the future saying that when these Inhumans left and went into space, one of them didn't make it back. And there's a really cool sequence in which you see every single character right before they're about to leave saying goodbye to the special person that they have back home. And I was like, oh shoot, you're actually kind of making me feel for each of them. And you're making me realize that this actually is going to be something dramatic. That was an example of him actually building tension well. But the rest of the time, it's more just them getting into big star battles and fighting giant monsters in space. And I was like, you know what? I don't really care about that. That's not what makes the Inhumans cool. However, as I said, issue number 3, you have a story about Maximus the Mad taking place in 3 different timelines that are all being connected through his own crazy mind as you see him manipulating everyone. That's the kind of stuff that makes the Inhumans cool. And that leads me into the Black Bolt series. Oh my goodness. As I said, from day 1 of this whole Inhuman X-Men craziness, I have been talking about what I want to see the Inhumans be. I have been talking about what I want to see them return to. I've been talking about what makes the Inhumans cool, and what makes them work, and what makes them unique, and the voice and the tone that those series should have. If anybody out there never went back and read any of the old Inhumans stuff, and you want to know what the heck I'm talking about, pick up the Black Bolt book. And here's the thing, you might think I'm just coming in here and getting excited and praising this book because, oh my goodness, it actually writes the Inhumans the way that I want the Inhumans to be written. That is one of the reasons I'm getting excited about. The other reason is because this is a damn good book. This book is about Black Bolt, the most powerful Inhuman, a guy whose voice is so strong it can destroy a mountain with a single whisper. He is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, but he's a character who must remain silent and constantly restraining his powers. However, in the previous Inhuman series, they arrested Maximus the Mad, and they were going to take him off to a space prison where he would never, ever return, and he'd be trapped there for all eternity. This book starts with Black Bolt waking up in that prison and realizing Maximus tricked him and made him swap places with him. So Black Bolt now finds himself trapped in this giant prison out in space, and the issue is pretty much just him walking through this prison. And every single prison is just a different layer of torture. He says he walks through one level that's nothing but fire, one level that's nothing but ice. And I don't know when exactly it was that I was reading this, but suddenly it hit me at one point. Oh my god, it's Dante's Inferno in space. It's the 7 layers of hell as a prison in space. That is the most Inhumans concept for a book I have ever read. And the entire issue is just Black Bolt thinking to himself about all that he's done, all that led him to this moment, all the weight on his shoulders. It's really just an examination of his character, and it's almost Shakespearean with the way that it does it. I will gladly draw that comparison. And you guys are going to have to forgive me if I come in here and spoil something that happens at the end of this book. However, where this book ends off is so good. Where this book ends off makes me so excited for what is coming, so I have to go ahead and share it with you guys, just simply to try and get more people to read this series. Basically, at the end of the first issue, he meets the prison warden for this facility, and some giant, weird, demigod angel creature, and it's just going, speak your sins, and Black Bolt gets his little muzzle off, and he's about to speak, which, as we all know, would destroy this entire facility. But then his just normal voice comes out, and that's when Black Bolt realizes nobody in this facility has powers. Like, if you're in this facility, all your powers are stripped away from you, and the angel just murders him right there. And then he wakes up back in his jail cell, and he looks across from him, and he sees another prisoner who he saw getting murdered earlier, and he realizes no one can escape here, even through death. You cannot escape because they will just resurrect you to continue spending all of eternity in this prison. Holy nuts! Okay, you have got a deep, contemplative character thinking about all the sins that he has committed and everything that his family has done to him, trapped in a facility that is essentially just hell in space that he can never leave because he will just be resurrected inside of all over again. That is what an Inhumans book is supposed to be. When I talk about all the crazy stuff and all the weird space concepts that should exist inside of an Inhumans book, this is a perfect example of it. You know how last week when I was talking about the X-Men books, I said that it felt refreshing to finally read an X-Men book that made me go, ah yes, someone gets it. Someone gets what the X-Men should be. That's how I, as an Inhumans fan, felt when I read this. It almost felt like the writer, Saladin Ahmed, was told he had to write an Inhumans book, and he just went, oh, an Inhumans book? Why didn't you say so? Yeah, I can totally write an Inhumans book. Oh man, I thought we weren't supposed to do that anymore. Well, I'll get right on that. So yes, for anybody out there who wants to know what the heck an Inhumans book should be, and what I have been talking about this whole time when I say I want to read an Inhumans book again, pick up Black Bolt. But also, even if you don't give a crap about the Inhumans, even if you've been turned completely off of them by everything that Marvel has been doing over the past couple of years with them, but you still just want to read a damn good book, pick up this series. Pick up issue number 1. It's probably still at your local comic book store because, let's be honest, it's an Inhumans book and those aren't selling all that great. So go there, read this book. It was amazing. Wow, I really hope I'm not overselling this one and that it will not in any way come back and bite me on the butt. I'm sure I'll be fine. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Comic Class. We're going to do a couple more of these ResurrXion reviews once a couple more of the X-Men books have come out. So come back next month for another one of those, or come back next week for another episode of Comic Class, or come by this weekend for a movie review and our video games show. That's right, here on the Professor Thorgy channel, we cover everything from the world of geekery, whether it be comics, movies, or games. So if you want to see any of that, make sure you click that subscribe button. And as always, you can also follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.